what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in again for another episode of Horns TV. I hope you guys liked your last episode with the Candyman. Dude was made a big hit. Look, you should see how he's going now. He's like making six figures, and dude's rocking. But here's another one for you. I have a good friend of mine here, old school sheriff, retiree, hanging out with a knucklehead like me. So we're gonna just jump right into it and just like shoot the shit, man. So, hey, Scott, what's up, man? What's going on, dude?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you're on, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where to start? I mean, you want childhood? You want career? You want what do you want? Where do you want me to start?
Well, maybe let's talk about your career in law enforcement, dude.
Okay.
Because it is. We're kind of on the opposite side of the fence. You know what I mean?
You keep saying that, but we're good friends.
We are good friends. I'll cheers you to that if you like.
Thanks. Yeah, cheers.
You see what I mean? You use ice. I don't really use ice.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, man, tell us about your career in law enforcement. Look, you even bought the damn club with you.
That ain't mine. I never touched that. That ain't mine.
All right, yeah. So yeah, go ahead and tell us about it, dude.
I guess if I was to start in the beginning, wow, the beginning. I guess as a kid, I always wanted to help people. I remember drawing pictures as a little boy of being a fireman or a police officer,
An astronaut,
right? Isn't that sweet? So, anyhow, I guess I had this feeling to help. And graduated high school, went to college, dropped out at first, got in a different kind of career, a medical field, and then enjoyed that. I was helping people, but it wasn't exciting. It was certainly fulfilling helping folks, but it wasn't exciting. So I went back to college, studied law enforcement, got a degree in that, and then in 1992, I got hired by a college police department. And that was fun. I really enjoyed serving the college community, everything from students to visitors to speakers to the staff, admin staff, everybody. And we had a good working relationship with all the people. It was like a little city. And we were well respected, and of course we gave the same to the public, and I really enjoyed that. So it kind of solidified all those things that I thought I would enjoy when I was much younger. And spent some years there, and then got hired with a sheriff's department in the county I was living, and more or less did the same thing. It was really cold up north where I worked, so it rained a lot. It was real cold, so I enjoyed working inside. So I worked mostly inside the detention facilities known as jails or correctional facilities, and that was really cool. I got to protect the public, kind of behind the scenes, from men and women who did various amounts of crimes, and they just, they shouldn't be on the street, so to speak.
A bunch of undesirables.
Well, I don't use that term. Most people in jail are innocent until proven guilty. They're going through the process of going through court and stuff like that, so we didn't do a lot of judging. But it still was exciting because if anybody's been in jail, there's fights, it's violent in there, and people don't want to be in there, and we understand that as deputies. So we were breaking up a lot of fights a lot, and still serving the public. The public wasn't in there to see it, but we were helping.
Well, okay, you've seen a lot of fights, but you understand why a lot of fights happened.
Sure.
Like sometimes they really didn't have a choice, but they had to do it, or else they're gonna get got by their own people.
Yeah, that sucks.
So, from an outsider looking in on that, what were your aspects on that?
So
because I'm sure you'd be like, hey, you can't be doing that, but then deep down you know that they don't even have a choice, but they had to do that.
Yeah, I understand that.
Or they would pay the consequences from their own people.
Yeah, we understand that. People are getting jumped inside the jails, or people who are mutually just agreeing to fight because they had a beef. It's still your responsibility as a deputy to protect those people, even from themselves. So you got to break up the fight, And if it goes too far, you can be charged with another crime for fighting, even inside a jail. but it's our responsibility to protect people, even the inmates. You know, they have a right to life. They have a right to peace. They have a right to all those things. So we have to jump in and break up the fights. So we're still protecting citizens. Even though they're in jail, they're still citizens. So it's our responsibility to protect them.
So, in hindsight, when it comes down to the nitty gritty, whose rules matter the most? Is it the facilities, which would be yours, or would it be the inmates?
I don't know if there's really a clear distinction on that. You're a citizen of this country. You have a right to live as peacefully as you can, even inside jail.
I guess what I'm asking is like, okay, say like all the gangsters' rules and stuff, and then there's the facilities rules. Whose rules do you think is ruling what's the outcome that's in there?
I don't know if the right term is give and take, but it happens. You know, a clique has their rules for everybody who's inside that module or pod or section of the jail, you want to call it. And the deputies know that. We've studied it. People tell us about them, you know. So we're aware of what the rules most likely are for the gangs.
Right.
So we get it. But now that we have that quote-unquote intel, we're looking for those patterns of behavior so we can stop them so people don't get hurt. Okay? So our rules ultimately rule the day, but we don't see it all. So occasionally those gang rules occur. You know, you get jumped in, or you're not doing your work for the gang. And they take care of their own business at times, and they get away with it sometimes because we can't be everywhere and see it all.
Have you ever seen like any deputies or anything kind of like do like the lesser of two evil kind of thing?
Lesser of two evil.
Like say
like what?
I don't know, say like some bad shit's happening, but you kind of had to use those guys to like try to neutralize it or something.
No, I don't have a memory of that, and I can't recall somebody, you know, turning the other cheek or turning a blind eye to stuff. You know, we're liable for that, you know. So if, I mean, they're snitches, right? So say you've got...
do they really get stitches?
They do. So let's say you got this gang that's in this module inside a jail.
What gangs... Sorry.
That's all right.
What were the main gangs that you were working with when you were inside? Because you're like doing jail time too, right?
Yeah, I was doing a life sentence, but I got to go home every night. But that's what the inmates or whatever would say. Well, you get to go home every night, and I say, well, yeah, but I have to come back tomorrow. So
same shit, huh?
Yeah.
It's just a little timeout, real quick.
So what was the question?
Shit, I already forgot.
Good.
What was like the main gangs you were working at with
yeah.
out up there?
So I lived in Northern California, so most of them, probably 60 to 70% of them were northern Hispanic gangs, Mexican gangs, norteños for a basic term. But we had Aryan, Asian, African American gangs, Nazi lowriders. It's kind of a mix of all kinds of stuff at times. By name, who cares? But basically, that was it. We had it all. So what I was going to say about snitches, okay? So as a deputy, we're held to that ideal that we're there to protect everybody, even the inmates. Okay. So if a deputy was going to turn the other eye or, you know, not look at something that was happening, so you get all these gangsters in there, they see you doing that, they're not going to turn you in. But mixed in with the general population of the gangsters are I guess, I don't know if normal is the right word, but other inmates who aren't affiliated with any gangs. They might be in there for DUI or for shoplifting, and they're just waiting for the court term to come up.
Just regular individuals.
Right. And they see you not following societal rules or the rules of the jail, so to speak. They could tell on you. They could write a letter to an admin or pass a note to somebody. So next thing you know, if you're not doing your job, you're called out. So there's a lot of responsibility on you. And that's how I looked at it, and that's how my peers looked at it, my teammates, so to speak, the other deputies. We really tried to do the right thing all the time. So, yeah, all eyes are on us.
What is one of the worst things you've seen in there?
Death.
Multiple times, or just like
A few times. People ODing, then coming in, going to jail after being released from a hospital or something like that, and they come in and they just can't shake it, and they die in their cell. You check on those people every 15 minutes. You check on them, you look at them, they're breathing, but somebody can die within 15 minutes because of overdosing and still having that withdrawal. And then there's people who've hung themselves. I've cut people down, and I've given CPR to people and saved some. So I've seen some really drastic stuff. It's sad.
So I know, like, especially like where you in that area where you're working, like there was a big opium epidemic and stuff out there too.
Sure.
I mean, probably just as much as it is out here.
It's everywhere, right?
But from opium to alcohol, because you would get like some people that would go to jail for being like extreme alcoholics where they can't shake it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's like the worst come down, right?
It is.
So, when you seen, like, did you see anybody like on like alcoholics trying to kick their habits and stuff?
Yeah, it's very physically painful for them. And we're checking on them constantly. And if we're not getting a sign that they're doing well, we call for a medic. There's plenty of nurses inside of jail, and they'll rush right over and check on them and help them.
Hmm. So how long? So you were only inside of the jails, right? Or did you work on the beat too?
Well, at the college campus, I worked in the public, but when I became a deputy, I enjoyed working inside.
How long exactly were you in there for? How much time did you do
Let's
that?
see. Boy, that's been a long. I've been retired for a long time. I haven't thought about it. 5 to 7 years. Yeah,
So how long were you a deputy for then?
5 to 7 years. I kind of forget. 94 to 2005. 96. Oh, longer than I thought. So I started in 92 in the career. I retired in 2005. So what that...
Oh man, you don't you
For a
really
while.
haven't been retired that well. You've been retired for a while, but
I
not that
have.
long.
I've been retired longer than I worked in that career. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're pretty old, huh?
Do I look old?
Yeah, I don't know. You look like I don't know. You're a silver fox, I guess.
Silver fox.
You're like the Dos Equis dude. You know what I mean?
Right?
So, what did you do after that? After you were in your career?
So I got hurt on the job. Blew out my back, my neck. I got all kinds of problems. I couldn't walk for a while. I was hurt real bad.
How did that happen?
Well, some guy was out partying one night, and he had a mixture of all kinds of stuff, drugs and alcohol, and he was just fighting, I guess. So some agency brought him into the jail to be booked, and he was all tied up because he was fighting, and we had to lift him out of the back of the patrol car. And where I was carrying him, suddenly my back started hurting a bit, and one of my sergeants saw me twinge, and he's, "You okay?" And I'm like, that hurt. Anyhow, he says, so quickly they opened the other Sally Port door, and we brought him in there and waited for the next Sally Port door to open, and my back started hurting a little bit more. And then once they opened the main door to go into the booking facility, there was another cell for him to go into so he could chill. So as we brought him in there and set him down on the ground, my job at that point, where I was positioned, was to squat down behind him and secure his legs while they're letting go of his handcuffs, and I was supposed to hold on to him. And when I squatted down, I felt like this bolt of lightning go down started like at the base of my neck and go down to my tailbone, the crack of my ass. And I just gasped for air and just fell over. I just couldn't move. It just paralyzed me, and all these discs in a couple of my neck and more in my lower back just blew out. So that sucked because couldn't walk suddenly, and I fell over and got dragged out a bit, and they took over my position and secured the fellow, or let him go, I mean, and then closed the door. Um, I was able to crawl to a chair where I sat up, and then I was told to go home. And quite literally, that ended my career. I hated that.
Were you bummed?
Yeah, I was seriously bummed.
Did you only work at that one facility, or did you work at multiple ones?
No, they had a couple facilities, and I worked at either.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
What was it? So was there one any more dangerous than the other?
Oh, yeah. I mean, within the biggest facility, they had ADSEG, administrative segregation, where most of the most violent people were in. And maybe they didn't, not always did the people in ADSEG do something terrible on the outside, but they were really violent when they came into the facility. So they were put into what's called ADSEG. So they're a cell all by themselves. They have no literal contact with the deputies. So they come out one at a time for the breaks, and they go back in. They're fed through a slot in a door just for our protection. And they don't mix with any other inmates because they're very violent. Um, so there's that. And then the general population, you'll have anyone from 11 inmates in front of you to, if I remember the number right, up to 130, and just you. And they're all mixing around. So you have various ways of dealing with inmates while you're in there.
So okay, so how did you ever have like an inmate that did the same amount of time as you did in your career?
Probably. I mean, I didn't calculate things in front of me. I didn't ask them how long you've been here and how many
I
times
guess how
have
you
you been
said,
back.
did you kind of grow up with any individual in there? You know what I mean?
Grow
Like,
up. No, I knew guys from high school, knew guys from just, growing up in town that would come through. I mean, not often, but it happened.
you ever like develop any relationships with them outside?
Uh,
Not those type of
well,
relationships.
I know what I know what you're saying. So some of the people I knew from just growing up in town, I knew them, but they knew I had a professional job to do. We weren't chummy, like best buds. Like, hey, I remember you. We kept our lives private. I was married. I never wore my wedding ring. I didn't want anybody to know anything of me while I was in there. I just had a job to do. It was very professional. So
I,
there were some pretty hard cats in there, Norteños. And there was one in particular. He spent some time in jail, and then he went to prison, and he did something, and he in recidivist, and he came back to jail some time later. Had an issue with him at one point, and then he was released from jail, and I just forgot about him. And then I saw him in the mall in town one day, and he walked up to me, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
were you worried?
Immediately and naturally. Okay, he walked up to me, and as he got closer, his plain face turned to a smile, and I didn't trust that. But as he got closer,
You didn't
his
trust a snake ass fucking smile, huh?
right, his smile became, I guess you could say, more.
Uh,
Uh,
Relaxing,
I guess, yeah, relaxing. Sure.
soothing.
No, but then his voice was different at the mall than it ever had been when I dealt with him on the inside.
He had a persona I guess, you know.
Yeah, and I was trying to put that together as that it was unfolding in front of me in the mall, you know. And then he just smiled, had this nice tone of voice, and say, "Hey, deputy, remember me?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, I just want to thank you for being cool in there. My life's changed, and I've done a lot better." And I was grateful that he wasn't going to be a dick, but I was also proud of him, and I thought it was very, very big of him to approach me and tell me how his life had changed. I didn't feel responsible for his personal achievements or anything like that. I just felt proud of him, sort of like, good for you. So, yeah, I've seen people on the outside afterwards who I've had issues with on the inside who have come up to me and say, thanks. So,
Did you see like any immediate dangers and stuff while you're working in the facilities that were like where you felt like your life was in total danger?
all the time.
what is one like that really real rememberable for you?
Well, that one guy I just told you about at the mall, he was a lieutenant with Norteños. Big guy, probably about 6'4", 300 pounds.
Dang, he could have picked you up real quick.
Yeah, and muscular, not a chubby kind of guy, muscular. And one of the rules inside was, well, this particular module, there was only one inmate per cell. And one of the weird kind of rules we allowed at the time was they were allowed to have disposable razors to shave, for their basic hygiene. And his door was open, and it was kind of yard time. Everybody was out doing their thing, mixing around, and there was, I think at the time, maybe 50 people in there. And this guy was standing at a sink, looking in the mirror, and there was another guy the same size of him, actually a little taller, a little skinnier, and kind of new, and he was shaving that lieutenant's head for him. Okay, soaped up his head and was shaving it. So you're not allowed to let anybody else use your razor. You're not allowed to let anybody else be inside your cell with you. So that it's kind of a big no-no. So I walked up to him, about 10 feet away, called out his name, the lieutenant guy. I said, hey, you know the rules. He can't be doing that. And the guy shaving his head looked at me and leered at me like he wanted to just murder me. And I saw that, and I took what's called a defensive stance. So then I pointed my direction at the guy shaving his head, and I said, you need to come out. Don't hesitate. Do it now. Put the razor in the sink and walk out and go to your cell. Go lock down. And he threw the razor down. It bounced off the sink, landed on the floor at their feet, and he walked at me real quick. My defensive stance turned into more of a posture of about to, get in a fight. And he'd walked past me and got behind me, so I turned around and spun to face him. And behind me, still in his cell, was the lieutenant. And I was just about to reach for my mic to call for backup. And this guy put up his arms like he was going to fight. So I had that big guy in front of me, that big lieutenant behind me. I was about to get my ass kicked. No doubt. I was not that big, not that tall. I was scared for my life. You could have heard a pin drop. Everybody saw that happen. 48 other inmates were like, we're going to see a fight.
We're going to see this dude get fucked up. Huh?
Yeah. So suddenly, I was looking at the guy facing off at me, and he was looking over my shoulder at the lieutenant inside his cell. Now, he did something behind me to signal to the guy who wanted to fight me. I told the guy, lock down, don't do this. And I'm kind of shortening the story for you, but anyhow, it wasn't nice the way I said it. But I stood up for myself.
Can I see that lighter, by the way?
Yeah, go ahead. And anyhow, so I noticed this guy look over my shoulder towards, his boss, so to speak. And suddenly he just went, fuck. Put his hands down and walked away and went to his cell. So I got on my radio, called for backup, walked up to, turned around, told that guy to close his door, and he did. Went up to my panel at my desk, opened everybody's door, got on the microphone, and told everybody lock down because, I got other deputies coming. So everybody did. All the doors locked, and then I secured all the doors so they couldn't open them again. My help came. I told them what happened, told them who was involved, blah, blah, blah. I ended up writing a report. That's everything. Later that day, after a break, I walked back into my unit, and I went up to that lieutenant, and I said, hey, I don't know what you did, but I think you did something. Thanks, but you're going to go to ADSEG now.
Damn, that's fucked up. He helped you. And
He
you throw him
did.
back there.
He did. But all of that was unnecessary. My life was suddenly in danger. Right? We can't have that. We have to take him out.
You're all things, but fuck you.
Not exactly. Okay? So, anyhow, he just went, I get it. He knows. He knows.
There was
Right?
somewhat of a mutual respect there.
There was. And I wasn't a dick to him when I told him that. He wasn't a dick back, you know. But that was that same guy I saw some years later in the mall. That lieutenant. He got out of the gang. He straightened his life up. Was taking care of his kids. He told me a little bit about, how he turned his own life around. So I was scared. And I was pretty much all alone. I mean, I had a mic on my shoulder, but so what?
Yeah, it
So
takes
what?
a while for people to get there. Huh?
It does. Even running in a jail, it takes a while. Before working for the sheriff's department, when I was working at the college, I'd been shot at 3 different times. That was scary. They were really bad marksmen. They didn't hit me or my buddies.
They probably all take, ideas from rap videos and stuff, holding a gun sideways. And shit.
They did. At least I was able to see one time. This guy put I think it was a Glock, out the little back window, sideways. He peeled off a whole magazine. Didn't, and there was me and 2 other guys. Didn't hit any of us. But that was scary. But that one I just told you about, working inside, that scared me.
That's your most memorable one.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, good for that guy. If this guy ever catches on to this video, hey, that's this dude. But you know what? Like, I'm glad a lot of people, they end up catching on at an earlier time and they kind of changed their life around. I know I did. I wasn't, after a certain age, I stopped being a knucklehead and everything. And after a while, it gets old and everything. And
Sure.
you just kind of want to enjoy life and enjoy good things like bourbon and cigars.
Smoking and friends.
Doing cool YouTube shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but anyways, Scott, thanks for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. I'll probably end up having you back on, telling you so you can tell everybody some more war stories that you did and stuff.
Yeah.
But
It's nothing to brag about. It really isn't.
there's people just want to hear, man. They
Do
want to
they?
listen. Yeah.
Do they
of
really?
course. I like to hear about shit.
You
I
do?
like, in reality, people like to hear about people getting hurt or some kind of dangerous stuff. But anyways, everybody else, thanks for tuning in and hit the like button.
Definitely.
Subscribe, comment, and then share it and put it on your Instagram and your Facebook. So let's get this shit out here. I want to keep rocking with you guys. And if you got, like I said, if anybody wants to come on, hit me up, DM me, inbox me, whatever, and just keep rocking with me. Scott, it was good having you. Cheers one more time.
Cheers.
See you guys.
Oh, is this where I do the horns?
Oh, yeah.
Right on. Thanks.